Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about emotional detachment from your code. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how can a software engineer learn to emotionally detach themselves from their code? Well, do code reviews, submit your code, and really try to listen to the feedback that you get. That is a very good thing. And sometimes it's also healthy for you to be under a very sharp deadline or have to write something half-baked that works right now but might have to be changed in the future. Submitting that and now making that all-important decision to not write a 10 line paragraph about how this is not ideal and it's not your fault and it's you can do better, etc., etc. Just submit semi-shitty code for review to your coworkers and have them ask or point out that this is sort of shitty code, and then explain that yes, but unfortunately we have these circumstances, and this is probably the best option, and then let them dissect it, let them badger, like hammer away at the software that you just wrote. That is how you emotionally detach yourself, because when you get to a certain level, guys, there is no need for you to prove yourself anymore, because usually when you're an established professional software developer, people will hear in your voice, they will see how you on average produce, how you handle problems, how you behave, your mannerisms, everything, that you are a solid software developer. It's just that, once again, like I like to say, most people project their own insecurities more than there's actually a reason for having them. A lot of, as we've been talking about imposter syndrome and so forth, you think that you have something to prove, and that there's never going to be a case where someone feels like, no, this person is incompetent. Guys, do you have any idea how many people tell me that have told me that I'm incompetent? Like, we're talking serious amounts of people, yet somehow they are, in many cases, I'm sure that they have a valid point in some fashion, but somehow I manage to, and these days, have a position that is, well, it's probably one of the higher positions that I've had so far, and I manage multiple teams. I write code on a daily basis. Most of the code that I submit is of, I like to think, of a decent quality, etc., etc. Like, there also, it's sort of like being an artist or whatever. Like, not everybody's gonna like your code. Not everybody's gonna think that you are good at what you do, and at the end of the day, what matters is not what they think, it is what do you actually produce. That is what's gonna matter, because results speaks for themselves. And based on, if you just look at the results that you produce, that's the thing that, well, hopefully is gonna show that, well, you kind of know how to produce something. You should never get to a point where you're arrogant about it, or where you feel like, yeah, I have nothing more to learn. You should always take in, like, even if you get feedback about performance and things like that. This is sort of the thing I'm trying to get at here. You have to get to a point, or to put yourself in a situation where you don't necessarily feel the need to defend yourself, because when you can submit code and you don't feel that strong urge to justify why you wrote something the way you wrote, rather just explain to people if they wonder why you wrote it the way you wrote, then you will have reached a point where you're detached from your code. I can give you something that I've done a few times, which sort of indicates my level of attachment to my own code. So sometimes I've noticed that my junior software developers that I work with, they're scared shitless of making comments in code reviews, because it's an emotional thing for them. Because anything that you say about their code is, of course, a very emotional thing for them, because they feel that, they have imposter syndrome. They think they're shit at what they do, and then they sit and work with people who, some of them have been working for a long time. And so any comment is, of course, a bad reflection on them. And then, so they in turn, they feel intimidated when they see something, because they assume that this person who knows a lot of stuff is doing, they probably know better. Should I say something? Should I not say something? And so sometimes I actually put in code that is shit. Like, I skip things that I know I should be doing, that I even myself have told them, and sort of had like raised my finger and said, guys, you have to think about doing this sort of stuff because it's important. And sometimes I actually genuinely forget, but sometimes I do it intentionally, and then I bait my trap, and then the junior doesn't say anything. And so I asked them, why didn't you, I sit down with them and I ask them, you see this code here that I wrote? It's not really great. Is there a reason why you didn't call me out on it? That gets really awkward really quickly. And they usually end up saying that, yeah, I wasn't sure what you were doing, it seemed weird, but I thought that maybe I should not say something, etc., etc. And then I say, yeah, but you dude, if I make a mistake and you're too scared to tell me that I made a mistake, then I just produced a bug, and that's gonna be worse. I mean, if I shipped that thing and I didn't know about it and you knew, then you're sort of in a way responsible for me shipping a production bug, or if you want to look at it as a team effort. So you have to tell me if I'm doing something wrong. When you get to that level of personal security, it's usually due to the fact that you realize that your code is not you. Because what matters is not whether or not other people think that your code is nice as a general rule, but rather is it acceptable? Does it produce does it do the job? It shouldn't be a source of personal, it shouldn't be your personal identity. And other things that can help, guys, is to have other things that you are proud of, or things that makes you feel good about yourself. You can't, some people do this, like they completely connect, they merge their sense of value to the quality of the software that they are writing. And that is a recipe for disaster, because the reality is that it's just a skill, like anything, and some people are good at it and some people are not so good at it. But when you get to a point where you can do it consistently without much terms in terms of error and things like that, I mean, it can always be better. But surely somewhere along the line you should consider growing up as an individual and realizing that you will never be perfect. If you want to try it out, take on a YouTube channel, sit and talk about random things and put them out on the internet, and see how long see how long it takes before random people will be rude to you for no reason, or misunderstand what you're saying, and then you're gonna feel like, oh shit, they didn't understand what I was saying, maybe I should make another video explaining what I said, and then you do that and they still attack you for no apparent reason. And when you finally start realizing that you have no way of winning this battle, because even if you were the most perfect human being in the world, misunderstanding, reality, all of these sorts of things, they are still a part of it. And the quicker you get to understand that it's all about averages. Are you on average doing a good job? Yeah, that's the best you can hope for in most cases. So what I want you to take away from this is that the way to emotionally detach yourself from your code is to get to a point where you realize that your code is not you. Ship it, or present it, even when it's not perfect, and then just trust that other people will understand that you made the choices that you made for a reason, and then learn from their feedback. Genuinely look for someone to tell you whether or not this was good or bad, and then actually try to listen. And if you want to go on further, put yourself in a situation where you have to be okay with making a mistake. Commit ego suicide by doing something that is bad, and see how people react, and just kind of face the music. I've done this on a few occasions. There are a few, if you go and look at some of the weird videos that I've made. Do you have any idea how many people have laughed in my face or thought I was an idiot or like etc etc, and many have even like actually claim that I'm a mediocre, like not so good software developer, etc etc. And if you expose yourself to those such of situations, it's going to desensitize you. I promise you. It's the same thing like the politicians and celebrities and so forth, and all the moguls and like what they face on a pretty daily basis. No, they're never going to be able to do anything without having some opposition. And when you get to a point where you realize that that's sort of part of the whole existing, because the only people who never feel any emotional blowback from anything are the people who make no difference. So try to make a difference and try to understand that it's not about being perfect. It's not about your code being a reflection about you. It is about you being okay with other people having an opinion about something that you did, and sort of actually being fine with whichever way the wind blows. Are they happy? Great, I'm super happy that they're happy about my code. Are they not so happy? Okay, that's not so perfect, but maybe I can understand why, and maybe I can do better in the future. But don't bring that, like, don't let it like get to you. I promise you, it's not that difficult. It just takes some practice and exposure to emotionally dealing with these sorts of things, because the more you do it, the less sensitive you're going to be. Have a great day.